Welcome to People. I'm Shirley. I'm here with Richard Chang, who is the country manager of Costco Taiwan in Neihu. And he has been the country manager for 18 years, ever since the time when he just arrived in Taiwan. And he was the first person to start the company here. And then now it's close to 3,600 employees island-wide. Well, let's meet Richard. Hi, Richard.
Shirley, it's good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you again.
Can't believe it's been
2 years.
2 years since our last
I know.
encounter, so it's
That's
good to be back. We have 3,600 employees on the island here. Since our last interview, we've opened up a depot, which is a distribution center. And so now the products go there first before they come to the warehouses.
Oh. Yeah. So things are done a little differently from
it's really improved our logistics. And to improve our logistics, that means we can lower the price of our merchandise.
Oh, really?
And pass that savings on to our members.
Oh, that's great.
And then I think we opened 2 more additional warehouses since we last visited.
Yeah.
So now we have all the major high-speed rail stations. We have a warehouse in all the cities now throughout the island, from Kaohsiung, Jiayi, Tainan, Taichung, Hsinchu, Taoyuan, and then in the greater Taipei area.
Wow, this I didn't know.
Yeah.
But for our audience, actually Costco Taiwan is probably the most successful warehouse store in all of Asia. Can I say that? The world? You want to say the world?
We probably rank up there relative to profitability, and I think that's really indicative of the spending and the purchasing power of the Taiwanese.
That's good, right?
Yeah, which is good. It's good for everybody.
Why do you think that's success? I think we did talk about this before, but
I think
why is that?
I think the Taiwanese, just like all people, the Taiwanese, they like value. If they can get good quality merchandise at the lowest possible price, they will embrace that.
All right.
And I think another issue we have, or advantage we have, is we have a lot of imported products from the U.S. or from regional. And the Taiwanese love the imported products, whether it's Korean or Japanese food or American, U.S. brands. They love that. So I think that's one advantage we have when we compare that to our competition.
Wow, that is great. Now, I know that you started off as a basketball player before. People know you in Taiwan as Zhang Shihan, the basketball player. Now, actually, people are really admire the way you went from sports and you were up there in sports, and then how you kind of moved yourself into the business world. And that's been a very smooth and successful transition. I mean, how did you do it? And were there any fears, any worries that you had to overcome? I'm sure there were.
Sure, absolutely. That's a good question. Growing up in the States and playing basketball, it was clear to me that unlike for instance, Jeremy Lin, I knew that I could not make a living playing sports.
Well, how did you know?
I could just feel it. I could just feel that basketball was very good for me because I learned a lot of qualities of life through sports. I think we talked about last time, sports is really a microcosm of society in general. But I knew that there would be a limit in terms of how far sports could take me. So from the very early age, I knew that being a basketball player was not going to be my career, but more of an interest. So I did have some plans and I did have some goals that I set early, even as an athlete, which I think helped me transition over from being an athlete into life after athletics.
You thought of this yourself? I mean, how old were you then when you were so mature?
I think it was probably in high school and especially in college. I think one thing that helped me in that process was getting hurt. I got hurt my freshman year in college.
That was already how many years into basketball playing?
I've played basketball my life.
Okay.
So when I got hurt my freshman year in college, and it was a serious injury. I tore a ligament in my knee, and I had to sit out for about a year and a half.
That's a long time.
And
that got you thinking.
It got me thinking, saying, basketball and sports is such a kind of a quote unquote an iffy type of situation that you have to rely on a lot of things and a lot of circumstances that you cannot control. And I said to myself at that time, boy, I better have a backup plan other than athletics. And I think that's what kind of brought me to where I am today. I had some clear goals that I set for myself. And I think that I meet a lot of young people today, whether they're athletes or non-athletes, and I don't see that in a lot of young people. And I wish that somehow that we can help them and say, listen, you have to have some goals. I always tell my coworkers or the employees at Costco, a bad goal is better than no goal.
Okay.
A bad goal is better than no goal, because if you have a bad goal, you may end up deviating into something that you're doing today because you were going this way. You wanted it to be a world traveler, and you went around the world, and all of a sudden, because you're in a different country, you found this job or you found a business that you pursued, and you wouldn't have found that if you didn't go on the world trip. So that was a goal. So what happens is, a bad goal is better than no goal. And I always preach that to the young people that I meet. What's your goal? And they said, well, I don't have a goal. Are you sure you don't have a goal? You should have a goal.
And they say, I just want to play basketball.
Well,
they say that's a goal.
That is a goal. That is a goal. But that's something that maybe...
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody, and it's very uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty to that. And I tell the basketball players here, whether they're playing in the SBL, which is the Taiwan Pro League here, and I said, playing sports is great, but you have to have a goal of what you're going to do after you're done playing, because that day will come. Believe it or not, that day will come. That is inevitable.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do after that? And they say, well, I haven't thought about that. And I'll say, now it's time to think. And then when it's time for you to transition into life after athletics, you'll be prepared and you won't be scared. Because a lot of the players nowadays are athletes, is that they're uncertain of what they want to do. So then they keep on playing, and they're delaying that inevitable day of when they were going to retire. And hopefully when you have a goal, you'll retire and you transition on your own terms. Not because, let's say, the ball club releases you, or that you get hurt, or something happens and you're not ready for that. That would be very unfortunate.
Well, can part of the reason be that the country or the government isn't doing much to really help promote the sports in the country? I mean, after all, basketball teams, we used to have, I don't know how many, but we're now down to 3 or 4. And baseball team, 3 or 4.
Yeah. I think government it's hard to control that. I think it's hard to promote that as well, because when you get into professional sports, it really is a market-driven condition. If everybody wanted to buy tickets and if everybody wanted to watch sports or a particular sport, then you would see more teams. You would see more private enterprise wanting to invest in owning teams. It's just the opposite. Yeah, it's a market force. Why is the NBA such a global brand now? They've done a good job in marketing the brand, so that everybody is supply and demand. There's not enough supply for the demand, so they can charge a lot of money, and everybody wants the NBA and the brand.
Well, that's what I meant. Maybe because we're lacking in the marketing part.
A little bit of that, but I just think it's a smaller market here in Taiwan.
Well, we're a smaller country.
We're a smaller country. That's right. And I think government can play a bigger role in trying to number one, promote the sports, but I think more importantly is promote the athletes who are playing the sports.
Yeah.
And I think that what happens now is this. In my observation is a lot of people don't want to go that route because of what we said. Maybe the transition is not as smooth. They probably don't get as much assistance from the government as they should.
Right. Well, maybe because the government wants to project a certain kind of image of Taiwan to the world, not so much in the sports, maybe.
Maybe. But I think it's also the athlete themselves.
Really?
They make it. Yeah, you can make the best out of it. You can get in athletics and learn a lot from that and transition over if you have the right mentality, if you have the right goals that you're setting. And I think it's really back to the individual.
Maybe you were more mature than most kids at your age at the time, in high school that is, because my son, he just loves play basketball, and he just wants to play basketball, and he thinks he's good at it. But you think that at his age right now, which is 15, 16, I don't think he really knows. I mean, he would think about what he's going to do in the future. He doesn't think that much ahead, not like you, I mean, how would you help kids at that age to think ahead of themselves?
Well, let's go back to your original question. Your son at 15 loves to play sports, loves basketball, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think from sports, he's going to learn a lot of things that maybe a non-athlete would not be exposed to. Number one is, if he wants to get good at it, which I know that he does, there's a lot of discipline and a lot of hard work associated with that. Okay, so there's dedication, there's discipline. Playing a team sport like basketball, he's going to be exposed to teamwork.
Yep.
Okay, so these are all the qualities that he's exposed to from a very young age. Now, fast forward to that, let's say 10 years when he's 25 and he's in the workforce. We're talking about discipline. You know, discipline in the workforce is the same as on sports or in sports. He's going to have to deal with fellow employees. He's going to be doing projects. That's teamwork. So you can see how there's parallels between being an athlete playing basketball and being a worker or an employee of a company. There's a lot of parallels and the qualities. So we talked about that last time, is that I like to use athletes at Costco here.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I see those qualities in these people who have been involved in sports. You know, in Chinese, 很耐用. You know, they're good workers because they have discipline. It's hard to get up early in the morning to go practice.
Right.
Okay, but they do it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get up early to go to work, but they do it. You see the parallel there?
Yeah.
They work hard. Hey, sometimes you have to work with people. You may not like them, but you have to work with them in order to get the job done. Same with sports. You have teammates. You may not like them, but they're your teammates. And if you want to win, you have to play as a team. So there's a lot of parallels there. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's good to let them play sports. And to learn all the positive qualities of sports. And then from there, maybe you could say, well, look what you've learned in sports. And you can use that at school when you're dealing with your fellow students on a project. Or when there's discipline, you have to get your homework done. Think about that as practice. You've got to do that.
See, that's the thing. So the message we should get out to the parents is that it's okay for your kids to play sports, right? I think Chinese parents always tend to focus on grades, but it's okay for kids to play sports. But then on the other hand, like my son, you know, he's not so good in school, but I think he's a smart kid, but he just loves to play basketball. And he's going like, why can't I spend more time in basketball? Well, the thing is that, unfortunately, and I don't know if it's God's will or whatever, that he got into high school. He just started his freshman year, but there's no basketball team in that school. So he's kind of disappointed. But the thing is, I'm telling him, you're a student now, okay? That's your status. And I think you should do your best in school because you are a student now. But how, I don't know. I mean, it's not that I want to take away basketball from him. I don't know how to tell him where the balance is, because I don't know, he just gets really, you know, feisty about not being able to spend more time in basketball when, you know, I'm and also the school is far from home. So he takes about probably 3-hour commute each way per day. And you know, so then I'm telling him you need to go to bed early and that kind of stuff, but you know, it's a frustration. I don't know. I love my son, but you know, I don't know how I should say.
You know, my advice to you is to let him enjoy basketball. As much as he can, and also of course, school is very important. And maybe there's an equilibrium between the two, a balance between the two, where maybe some of his studying can involve studying basketball, studying the mechanics behind sports, studying the business of sports. Maybe that's his calling. You know, I told my son, who's 18 years old, he's applying for college this year. I said, you don't have to. If you like basketball, that's great. But you know what? And basketball can be a career for you, not as a player, but maybe as a manager, maybe as a sports agent, maybe working for some of the brands. If you like sports, if you like basketball, what about working for Nike or Adidas? There's a lot of things. I love my job because I love the people I deal with. You know, I wake up and I want to go to work and I want to get get my job done, that type of thing. But I said to my son, I said, listen, if you got up every morning and you were going to the stadium, not because you're going to practice, but you're going to be working for the Lakers as in the back office, if you're working for them for marketing or finance, or hey, that's great because you're still close to what you love, but you have a career on it. Now, if I say to your son, keep on playing basketball because you're going to be a player, I would be giving him bad advice. But if you love sports, maybe one day you can work for a pro team. You can work for a brand name. You can work for an organization that is dealing with athletes and dealing with sports. There is a whole world behind the scenes of professional sports, of professional basketball, of the NBA. There's a company. The NBA is a company. And inside there's the commissioner, David Stern, and all the people that work to make this brand. Maybe that's a way to get him to have still not drop basketball 100%, but get him excited about, hey, the workings behind basketball, the workings behind sports. And that could be the goal, moving him forward to concentrating on schoolwork, because that is the means to an end. You still have to get good grades, so one day you can work for the Lakers or for the Bulls or for the Knicks.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So I think, for you to say, stop playing basketball, that's tough.
Yeah.
But to maybe kind of say, listen, basketball is good, but hey, part of this is also, a goal for him to work towards something.
Yep.
And that might be a way to inspire him. And I think the more he plays, I think, there's a lot of leadership qualities that come out from playing in sports.
Yeah.
You got to be a leader out there on the team, be a team captain. It's the same when you work in the workforce. You got to be a leader. A lot of employers look for people who have potential leadership qualities.
Yeah. Oh, I think my son has that for sure.
Yeah.